Please come and listen closely. I invite you to listen attentively, from the very beginning to the end. Thank you for your time.
After watching this video, you'll never look at your children in the same way. This video is going to be very long, so find a comfortable position and sit. Even if you have a short attention span, you must force yourself to watch this video, because you may never hear what I'm about to share with you any other place until you die. But before I say anything, I need to watch this video first.
We're a generation of influencers. You don't know how to build anything. At 35, my mates were buying banks. What did I buy? And the buying banks that were older than them. Tinubu, by the age of 35, was presidential candidate material. The finance medical. So all our generation of people that complain about Tinubu are doing, all we've done is insulting. Same period, build a bank. Who in our generation even owns one? Under the age of 50, who owns a bank that is under the age of 50?
Herbert,
Herbert, 35, they own
the GTB guys.
a significant bank.
He wants to go to the government side. In the 30s, they're already carrying us big cool.
Just doing cool. Very ministers,
Yeah.
Patrick Tomi. So my point is, we're a generation of influencers. We don't know how to build anything. People are trained to perform, not to build.
Yeah. In this video, Mr. Aboyeji said, we are a generation of influencers. We don't know how to build anything. At 35, my mates were building banks. They were building banks older than them. After watching this clip, I decided to make some research about Mr. Aboyeji. And I found out that Mr. Aboyeji was the co-founder of Andela and Flutterwave, and that he's currently the CEO and general partner of Future Africa, a venture platform valued at over $6 billion. Now, this information I just gave you about Mr. Aboyeji was not what I wanted to know about him when I did my research. The information I was actually seeking was to know which schools he attended. Now look at what I saw. Secondary school. Mr. Aboyeji attended Loyola Jesuit College, Abuja, and completed his secondary school in 2007. He then proceeded to Columbia International College, a private boarding preparatory school in Ontario, Canada. Now see where it gets interesting. According to a publication by Nigeria Tribune, as recent as 31st January 2026, Loyola Jesuit College is currently the 10th most expensive secondary school in Nigeria. As at 2005, when Mr. Aboyeji was probably in his senior secondary class, Loyola Jesuit College was the 3rd most expensive secondary school in Nigeria. If you had the chance to give your children just one gift, what would that be? I know many of us would say money, a lot of money, because we have this belief that money is wealth. But money is not wealth. You can have money and still not be wealthy, because wealth is not determined by how much money you have. Wealth is determined by your ability to create value for people other than yourself. The best gift you must give to your children is exposure. Now, exposure to what? Exposure to the critical success factors in life. When you expose your children to the critical success factors in life, you enable your children to thrive irrespective of what challenges life throws at them. The lens through which your children see the world is by far the most critical success factor in their lives. People do not see life the way it is. People see life the way they are. People see life the way they think. People see life in the perspective their mindsets have been shaped. And people see life within the context of the knowledge they've been exposed to. Critical success factors are those factors that play a major role in giving anyone a chance for a favorable outcome in life. The biggest critical success factor in life which you must expose your children to is unfair life advantage. There are two types of unfair life advantage. Number one, it is either you expose your children to their natural genetic, natural cognitive, or natural personality unfair life advantage. Or number two, you expose your children to acquired unfair life advantage. Talking about acquired unfair life advantage, let's go back briefly to Mr. Aboyeji. The same year he left secondary school in 2007 was exactly the same year I left secondary school too, which means we probably got into secondary school in 2001. He went to the 3rd most expensive secondary school in Nigeria, and I went to Federal Government College, Kotelene. By all means, a decent secondary school in Nigeria as well. We were most likely exposed to the same subjects: English, mathematics, biology, chemistry, physics, etc. But did you know that we were not exposed to the same environment? We were not exposed to the same culture. We were not exposed to the same mindset. We were not exposed to the same pattern of thoughts and perception. When you attend the 3rd most expensive secondary school in Nigeria, you can never interact with people with poor mindsets, because every student you see there come from wealthy families. Their perception to life and the perception of others who attended a random secondary school can never be the same. Both sets of individuals exist and operate on two different sets of realities. In random secondary schools, you interact with people who believe that wealth is achieved by luck, hopeless miracles, and illusions of unmerited favor. You come across people who make you agree that the reason you're struggling financially is because your auntie or uncle somewhere tied your destiny in a bottle and threw the bottle out and threw the bottle into a river. You meet with people who believe that sicknesses are diabolical and require some form of spiritual cleansing to get better. You interact with people who believe that every death is linked to someone who remotely killed you from your village. You relate with people who are taught to work for others, climb the corporate ladder until they get to the top of their careers. When you attend one of the most expensive secondary schools in Nigeria, you are exposed to people who teach you how to become the corporate ladder itself for other people like us to climb and get to the heights of their careers. You are exposed to people who understand the principles of wealth creation and how you raise money for any business venture. Most importantly, you form friendships, bonds, social circles, and connections with people who will eventually become your network of business partners and political allies in the future. Take a look at this photo and tell me who you can recognize. I can recognize Pastor Enoch Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church. I can also recognize Bishop Edepo of Winners Chapel. This picture was taken about 40 years ago during a conference in Ibadan, Oyo State. Today, these two men run successful religious enterprises in the world. Do you think it's a coincidence? Understand this: the people and the environment you expose yourself to at a very early age in life are the highest acquired life unfair advantage anyone can offer you. Now, let's dive into politics for a moment. Barewa College, Zaria, has produced the highest number of political elites in Nigeria: 5 presidents, more than 20 governors, and other prominent politicians. Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Yakubu Gowon, Murtala Mohammed, Shehu Shagari, Omar Musa Yar'Adua are all former presidents of Nigeria and all attended Barewa College, Zaria. You think it's a coincidence? No, it's a pattern. You just haven't recognized that it is a pattern. Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State; Ahmad McAfee, former governor of Kaduna State; Patrick Yakowa, former governor of Kaduna State; Lawal Kaita, former governor of Kaduna State; Abubakar Dangiwa Omar, former military governor of Old Kaduna State; Ibrahim Mahmood Alpha, former military governor of Kaduna State. Guess what all of these will have in common? They all attended Barewa College, Zaria. Do you still think it is a coincidence? No, it is a pattern. Ojo Okalo, former governor of Abia State and currently a senator in Nigeria; Nuhu Rebadu, former chairman of EFCC and current national security advisor of Nigeria; Muhammad Saudu Abubakar, Sultan of Sokoto. Again, they all attended Barewa College, Zaria. You think it is a coincidence? It is a pattern. The list is endless. Now, let's come back to Mr. Aboyeji for another moment. Mr. Aboyeji did not just stop as one of the most expensive secondary schools in Nigeria. He proceeded to a university in Canada. He actually attended 2 different universities, both in Canada, University of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, and St. Jerome's University, Waterloo, Canada. Let me tell you what happened to me after secondary school. After I left secondary school in 2007, I did not get into the university until 2009 for one reason or the other. So what it meant is that by the time I was entering university, Mr. Aboyeji was probably in his 3rd year in a Canadian university. Now guess what? Despite getting admission into the university in 2009, school did not commence until sometime in 2010. Guess why? ASU strike. ASU went on strike for 6 months. So Mr. Aboyeji was most likely going into his final year in the university while I was just starting my 1st year. Do you know why? His parents exposed him to acquired unfair life advantage. See, let me tell you this. Many successful people you see today are successful because they had an unfair life advantage, which some other people did not have. But somehow they always think life gave everyone the same starting point. Somehow they think life gave everyone the same level playing ground. Somehow they believe life gave everyone the same opportunity. They do not realize how privileged they were to have a certain level of exposure very much early in their lives. It took me only 1 year in the UK to realize that Nigeria wasted 15 years of my life. The only reason I may be doing financially better than some of my classmates in secondary school or university now is simply because I had the unfair life advantage of traveling out of Nigeria about 10 years ago. But this does not change the fact that Mr. Aboyeji worked very hard to achieve what he had for himself. In fact, until you have worked as hard as those you aspire to be like, never assume their success is luck. Moreover, there are other people who had the same opportunity as he did, but have not amounted to anything meaningful in life. However, there's an element called unfair life advantage that has propelled him earlier and faster to achieving those big dreams. It does not mean that you and I, who were not exposed to similar unfair advantages, would never attain such heights. It only means that it would naturally take us longer because we have no one that paid our ignorance debts early in life. No one can build anything from a level of survival. Everyone must first attain the level of self-sufficiency at the barest minimum for he or she to comfortably start building anything. Dangote's grandfather was the richest man in West Africa. Otedola's father was once the governor of Lagos State. Tony Elumelu's father-in-law was a non-executive director on the board of the UBA Bank in 2005 and later became UBA's bank chairman from 2011 to 2013. Elon Musk's father was a very wealthy man in South Africa. Jeff Bezos got $246,000 startup loan from his parents to fund Amazon. That's about $600,000 in today's equivalent. Warren Buffett started investing in stocks at age 11. Someone paid his ignorance debt early enough for him to start investing at that age. Bill Gates went to one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer, which was the Lakeside School. Bill Gates happened to be one of the 1 in a million people who attended a high school that had a computer. During his speech in the Lakeside School's graduating class in 2005, Bill Gates said, if there had been no Lakeside, there would have been no Microsoft. There's a constant pattern you recognize in all the names I have mentioned so far. All of them had an acquired unfair life advantage given to them by their parents, relatives, or the environment they found themselves in. Some may not have inherited fortune in the form of money, but they inherited an exposure to the unfair advantages of life. This does not negate the fact that there are also people who have climbed the ladder of success without any external support, but the odds are always naturally against such people. Life is not fair. There are people who are given acquired unfair life advantage. There are also people who have natural genetic, natural personality, and natural cognitive unfair life advantage. The genetic, personality, and cognitive unfair life advantage is the one you must look out for in your children. When I say life is not fair, it is because everyone is created differently. I have come to the realization that there are people who by natural instincts are inclined to succeed in life more than others. This is not because their parents or relatives did anything special, but because by virtue of their genetic composition, nature by default gave them those gifts that already put them ahead of others. I am emphasizing deeply on genetics unfair life advantages because genetic factors work independent of other external contributions or other natural unfair advantages in life, such as environmental and circumstantial factors. Some genetic unfair advantages in life are physical structure, physical appearance, metabolism, and health, innate personality, that is being born charismatic, highly intelligent, or having a natural ability not to care about others' opinion, resilience, intrinsic motivation, and extroversion. Michael Jordan is regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time. He is 6 feet 6 inches tall. Height was his genetic unfair advantage. His technical mastery included a legendary fadeaway jumper, explosive first step, and elite ball handling, complemented by extreme athleticism comprising vertical leap and large hands. Do you think that Michael Jordan would have been one of the greatest basketball players if he was not 6 feet 6 inches tall? Caster Semenya is regarded as one of the greatest female athletes in the world. She has a higher testosterone level than her usual female competitors. This was her genetic life unfair advantage. If she had the same testosterone level as her female counterpart, she would never have excelled above her. Michael Phelps is regarded as one of the greatest swimmers of all time. He has a hyper-flexible ankles, massive wingspan, proportionate body, large feet and hands, and low lactic acid. His competitors had none of this. These were his genetic life unfair advantages. Albert Einstein is regarded as one of the most intelligent men that's ever lived on Earth. It is reported that he had an IQ of between 150 to 160. The average IQ of human beings is 100. His high IQ was his genetic life unfair advantage. Shaquille O'Neal is widely considered the most dominant player in NBA history and one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He is 7 feet 1 inch tall, weighs about 147 kg, and was still agile, flexible, and has speed despite his size. His physical genetic composition was his life unfair advantage. The more you do things that are natural to you, the less competition that you have. This is why identifying your children's natural unfair life advantage could be the most important factor that will determine how successful they will become in life. Jeff Bezos was asked why the United States has more entrepreneurial success than any other country. This is what he said. People get confused about why does the United States have so much venture success, so much entrepreneurial success. Why are the big tech companies here and not somewhere else? What's really going on with all this dynamism in this country compared to what we see around elsewhere in the world? And there's a bunch of reasons for that. But the biggest one is that we have better risk capital. It's not the banking system. We have a good banking system, but so does Europe. What's different here is that you can raise $50 million of seed capital to do something that only has 10% chance of working. That's crazy. But the people who are giving you that seed capital know that their expected value is still positive in many cases, or they are at least gambling that that's true. That risk capital system that we have in this country is turning out to be very hard for other countries to duplicate. This brings us to the questions peculiar to Nigeria as a country. Which Nigeria banks are willing to fund your startup without collateral? The answer is none. Which Nigeria venture capitalist firm will fund your startup which has a 10% chance of succeeding? The answer is none. Which Nigerian investor will put his or her money in your business without wanting to take a massive portion of your equity? The answer is none. Now you understand why the odds against the young people trading in Nigeria is so high. There is absolutely little or no system available for an ordinary young talented person to build anything meaningful in Nigeria. And if you are still in doubt of what I just stated, watch this video by Atedo Peterside, founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank, on why it is difficult for young people to build in Nigeria.
In terms of a lot of young people, obviously they admire you, they look up to you. Not only, of course, not only as a businessman, but even as a family man, as someone who had a vision, not only brought it to life, but has continued to even build more businesses and empires in its wake. What would be your advice to young people that are looking to emulate your footsteps?
That's a serious question, a difficult question for me, because I've actually repeatedly that society is rigged against young people.
Right.
So they've got to be very careful in this environment. If you look at it, most things have been, rules have been put in place, things have been, measures have been put in place, make it very difficult for young people to succeed. When I was young, it was not like that. It's almost as if some Nigerians, as they got older, kept on redefining, putting the rug along with themselves. And the environment enabled them to come in and succeed. They withdrew it, so that today's young people cannot repeat what they did. I am sad that today no young Nigerian at age 33 can begin and do what I did, because the rules won't even let him. You understand me? If you have 10 years experience and you come for a banking license, they'll throw you out. So the point I'm making is that I would like young people, you find that young people today in Nigeria are concentrated in the creative arts, in music, in Hollywood. These are the areas where the rules have not been rigged against them.
Yeah.
It's difficult for a 78-year-old man to be better than a 22-year-old at hip-hop music. so they're going to the areas where they're allowed to compete and excel. Because if they want to get land to build a factory, they'll be rigged out of it in their state or rigged out of it by somebody else, by some old man. So they're moving naturally into the activities where they can compete.
Now, there are a few things I need to point out in this video. He said that he believes that society has been rigged against the young people. He said measures have been put in place to make it difficult for young people to succeed in Nigeria. He went further to say that when he was young, it was not like that. Then he said, this is why young people in Nigeria are concentrated in creative arts, in music, in Hollywood, because these are the areas that have not been rigged against them. These are the areas where they can fairly compete and excel. The reason why we are a generation of influencers, the reason why we are a generation of content creators, the reason for the Olodo uprising force narrative is because the society has been rigged against the younger people. We simply do not have a system that supports young people to succeed in life. Now, guess what? My curiosity again led me to check Atedo Peterside's educational background. His secondary school was King's College, Lagos. He obtained his university degree from the City University of London and master's degree from the London School of Economics and Political Science. Again, acquired unfair life advantage comes in based on being privileged to obtain his undergraduate and postgraduate qualifications from a London university. This, again, emphasized my belief that most successful people you see today had an unfair life advantage, which can either be natural or acquired. So the best gift you can give your children is to either expose them to their natural life unfair advantages, or you expose them to the acquired unfair life advantages. You do not have to put them in one of the most expensive schools because not everyone can afford such. You just have to ensure that on their behalf, you make decisions which will naturally put them ahead in life. I hope this makes you better today than you were yesterday. Thank you for your time.